First of all, draw the outline of the base, which will be in the triangular shape. Later, name it as with any three letters you like. I am naming it as PQR. Now consider a point on PQ somewhere as per your wish. Draw a perpendicular from the point. Let us name the point as M. Now draw a line making 30 degrees with this normal. Now this will work as incident ray. Now keep two pins on the incident ray vertically, and they should be perpendicular to the plane of paper. Now keep the prism back in its position. We should take care that it should be inside the outline. Now, by looking from the other side, here angle of incidence is taken 30 degrees. I did not write that. Now, by looking from the other side, keep two more pins in such a way that the four pins are in the same line. Means the already kept two pins and the other two pins which I am going to keep must be in the same straight line. You have to keep in this way. If you see from this side, you should be able to see only one pin. Four pins should not be visible, only one pin should be visible. The other three pins should be on the back of the first one. After keeping the four pins in same straight line, remove the pins and prism and draw a line joining the newly kept two pins. Let me do here. Sorry. Now this can also be removed, but no need. Let me draw the line passing through these 2 points. Actually, in this experiment, we need to measure only incident angle and angle of deviation. We don't need emergent angle, angle of refraction. We don't need anything. This is actually refracted ray inside the prism. See, this ray is not parallel to the base here. So for minimum deviation, when you get minimum deviation, this line will be parallel to the base actually. So by that you can say when we will get the minimum deviation, we can know that. This ray is called emergent ray. This is refracted ray which is inside the prism after refraction at the first surface. This is the ray after refraction. We need only three things here. We need angle of incidence and angle of deviation. We measure angle of deviation. We don't measure anything else because we need only angle of incidence and angle of deviation. This means this was the incident ray actually. If there was no prism, the incident ray would have gone in this direction. Right? This would be the direction of the incident ray. But as the prism came in between, so the incident ray has deviated up to here. So this is deviated through this angle. Right? That is why this angle is called angle of deviation, delta or something. You can denote by anything. That is called angle of deviation. We have to measure that angle of deviation now. Now here I have taken first of all 30 degrees. So angle of incidence is 30 degrees. Angle of emergence is not 30, it is very high. So no need to measure that actually. We don't need that in the experiment. Now let's measure the angle of deviation. It is 10, 20, 30, 40, 40, 46, 47, 48 degrees. Angle of deviation here is 48 degrees. For the angle of incidence 30 degrees. So let us write here 30, 48. Here I will tell you one logic for you. Here we have to observe this distance and this distance. When this line is parallel to this side, the incident ray will deviate to minimum extent. We have to consider that angle. The angle of minimum deviation we need here. So at 30 degrees we don't have angle of minimum deviation. This should be parallel. In the same way, calculate the respective angles of deviations for angles of incidences 40 degrees, 50 degrees, 60 degrees. For 40 degrees of incidence angle, we got deviation as 39 degrees. And for angles of incidences of 50 degrees and 60 degrees, I got angles of deviations 41 degrees and 42 degrees. Later, by taking angles of incidence on x-axis and deviation on y-axis, we have to plot the points which we got in our experiment. Later, join those points with smooth curve. We should not use straight lines. Later, from the bottom of the curve, draw two normals, one on y-axis, another on x-axis. These values, the y value give here the angle of minimum deviation, and the x values will give angle of incidence and angle of emergence, which will be equal here. I told you already that when the incident ray deviates to the minimum, this line will be parallel to the third side, this side, and here angle of incidence and angle of emergence will be same. While doing the experiment, we may make some errors. That is why this angle of minimum deviation may vary from 35 to 40 for a prism with angle of prism of 60 degrees. Here in our experiment, the angle of prism is 60 degrees. If the angle of prism is 60 degrees, for that the angle of minimum deviation may vary from 35 to 40 degrees. There will be no any problem in that, even if you get 35 to 40 any number. Later we will use formula to calculate the refractive index of the prism. This is the formula to calculate the refractive index of the prism. If we speak strictly, refractive index of the material of the prism, where A is the angle of the prism and D is the minimum deviation. If we substitute and simplify, we get finally 1.5082. So which is the refractive index of the material by which the prism is made. Thanks for watching.